joining us. We're gonna give it another 2 minutes, and the parents are still, on their way in this Zoom meeting. Yeah, we'll give it another 2 minutes, and then we'll get started at 7:03 sharp. In the meantime, while we're waiting, if everyone can put your child's grade number, just put the number in the chat box. We just want to get an idea, how old your child is, right? Let's say if your child in grade 9, you put the number 9. Yeah, exactly. Nancy did exactly right. So if your child in grade 10, just put the number 10. So we just want to get an idea. Thank you. 我们今天可能有相当一部分这个家长，就是我们可能是这个 bilingual， 就是双语啊，中文跟英文。那Grace 老师呢，他可以听懂一些中文啊，但是他的这个第一语言是英文，所以整个的 presentation 可能还是用英文。然后如果大家有任何问题，那我会鼓励大家呢，把这个问题一定要在听的过程当中把它写在这个 chat box 里面，这样的话你不会忘记掉哈，因为随着 Grace 老师讲，你的这个可能就把那刚刚想要的问题给忘记掉，所以你可以把它直接写在这个 chat box 里面。如果你可以用英文写，用中文写都可以那我们会在这个 Grace 的最后的 presentation 结束之后我们来回答大家的问题。那当然在回答问题的期间，你可以把话筒打开直接问同样的中文也可以，英文也可以如果 Grace 可以直接用英文答直接用中文答这是一个很好的练习中文的机会如果不可以的话，我可以 translate 我还好像做翻译工作做的还可以Okay, so if you guys have any questions during the presentation, so you're highly encouraged to just type your questions in the chat room, in the chat box along the way, just in case you might forget, right? And then we'll get to your questions at the end of the presentation, right? Feel free to type your questions in Chinese, in English, and also during the Q&A, you can turn on your microphone and ask questions directly. Again, you can ask questions in Mandarin Chinese, in English, so we can obviously handle both languages. All right. So let's get this one started. Good evening one more time, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. This is a HOSA seminar. So the speaker for tonight is Grace Xiong. She will be our HOSA instructor. Grace is in her junior year at my master health science program. As everyone may know, health science program at my master is one of the top competitive program in Canada, and could be the most popular one, and could be the most could be the toughest one to get in, right? It's very hard to get in. So obviously Grace is pretty successful in getting in the program. She was a HOSA competitor during her high school career. She has won numerous awards in HOSA, including the national champion in sports medicine. And she has also qualified for the international both years and attended ILC in year 2017. Grace is interested in public health leadership and medicine. Without further ado, I'm gonna turn the microphone and stage to Grace. Thank you, it's all yours.
Thank you so much, Henry. 我试先用中文讲一下刚刚谢谢你帮我介绍，然后很谢谢今天好多父母还有家庭用今天的时间来听我们的讲座。I'll do my best to share some information with you guys, and hopefully you're able to learn a bit more about HOSA and then are interested in joining the LinkedKey HOSA course. So I'm going to share my screen now for a presentation. Can you guys see this?
Yep.
Yeah, perfect. I'm gonna get started then. Okay, wonderful. So welcome again to today's HOSA seminar. We're going to be covering a bit of information about HOSA itself as a competition, but also what our courses are available at LinkedKey, in that we have HOSA Level 1 and Level 2. My name is Grace, as Henry introduced, and I'll be your presenter for today. Okay, so an agenda of what we'll be covering today includes number one, why HOSA? So first of all, why do you want to compete in HOSA? What may it offer you if you do choose to compete in it? And how can it help you not only within your high school experience, but also help further your future career goals? Number two, we're going to discuss how HOSA works. So not everyone in this room may be familiar with HOSA as a competition. So we're going to discuss what the competitive process is like, and also what events are available, because there are very many. Number three, we're going to go over what our level 1 and level 2 courses offer and how you can get involved, how you can register. And finally, we're going to end off with some time for questions and answers. So as Henry mentioned, please use the time today to write down any of your questions so you don't forget later on. If I am being confusing during the presentation, feel free to also message in the chat and I'll try my best to address it, but we'll likely leave all the questions towards the end so we can have a more streamlined presentation. Okay, so starting off number one, why HOSA? Now, there are a lot of reasons why HOSA is awesome, and I'm not just speaking towards my own experience, but there are also a lot of concrete things that you can gain, the first of which is knowledge. So we all know that healthcare is a very expansive field, and knowledge in healthcare is constantly changing. There's so much of it, and it's also very important. COVID has just been really affecting our lives for the past few years, and I think everyone wants to learn a little bit more and wants to know a bit more about not only what COVID entails, but how we can keep ourselves healthy, how we can keep our family healthy. So that's why, to me, health is a very important realm. However, regardless of how important health is, I also believe that healthcare knowledge is a little bit inaccessible to the average person. There is quite a high barrier to entry. So when it comes to medical terminology, like there are very long words. And if English isn't your first language, or if you're a young student in maybe grade 8, grade 9, grade 10, you may not be familiar with all of the terms and definitions that health professionals use. So HOSA is a great entry-level opportunity for you to gain exposure into healthcare ideas, healthcare knowledge, concepts. Beyond definitions, there's also wider concepts in physiology and biology. HOSA is very, very good at guiding your learning because they are adapting their resources every year. So they're very recent, they're very relevant, and they provide it to you in a chunkable and digestible manner. So once you register for HOSA, the international organization will offer textbooks, readings that are applicable to the event at which you chose to compete in. So it's a very kind of easy, well, not easy because you have to study, but it's a manageable way to learn about healthcare, more so than Googling on your own. And then beyond the theoretical knowledge, which HOSA is really excellent at, I think another feature that HOSA can offer is the practical skills that come with healthcare. So for example, some of the workshops that they offer at the HOSA conferences include suturing, assessments, so gaining range of motion. If your elbow hurts, for example, how can you see to which degree the elbow can rotate? There's a lot of technical skills that you wouldn't get the opportunity to learn unless you were in medical school or dental school, for example, but you can get them through HOSA. So I think that's a wonderful opportunity. Furthermore, HOSA also, beyond the knowledge aspect, can offer a lot of professional development for students. So HOSA is a competition in health sciences, yes, but it's also a career development opportunity because the conferences are very professional and are a bit different than what you might gather in a classroom. So once we go to the HOSA conferences to compete, everyone is required to wear business attire, suits, formal dresses, shirts, etc. And students are able to gain an early exposure to professional environments because, after all, healthcare is an industry and healthcare careers are professional careers. So it's important to not only know the knowledge that is required behind these careers, but also kind of understanding how to express yourself, how to speak, how to communicate, how to have good posture, how to engage with people maybe that you haven't met before, but how to give off a really professional and positive impression. And finally, everyone's favorite topic, because HOSA is a competition, that comes with awards and distinctions. So if you are successful in your HOSA journey, if you compete well, if you place in the top 3 in the national team and you go off to represent Canada on the international stage, those distinctions are very, very valuable when it comes to applying for university, for jobs, extracurricular positions beyond that kind of realm. So the opportunities are kind of boundless, kind of limitless. Okay, number 3, we have personal skills. So I believe that competing in HOSA also promotes personal growth. Beyond the professional aspect, beyond the knowledge, students are able to hone a lot of academic skills when they are competing in individual events because HOSA is very content heavy. So a lot of studying is required, but don't be scared because we can help you manage that. And also HOSA can assist with collaborative abilities. There are also team events. So not all HOSA events are individual based, some are teams. And in that way, you can learn to collaborate and work more effectively with your peers. And I think that is not only a useful skill to have in high school, but also beyond university and work, all throughout your life. These are critical skills that you can develop from participating in HOSA that will last you and will serve you for a long, long time. And then finally, beyond competition, personally, I can attest to the ability of HOSA to foster leadership abilities. So although I competed in HOSA in grade 9 and 10, I ended up transitioning to becoming my chapter's executive and my chapter's president in grades 11 and 12. So whilst I got the opportunity to compete in HOSA, I was also able to gain a lot from being, the president of my HOSA chapter, helping my fellow peers prepare for competition, guiding younger students. And that was an opportunity that really fostered my leadership abilities as well, that I kind of take with me even till today. Okay, and number 4, it may not be as, concretely tangible as the other benefits, but I think HOSA is also a way to make lifelong memories. When I was in grade 9, I competed in sports medicine. I went to internationals in Orlando, so I took a plane, I flew with my friends, and I think HOSA offers a really unique opportunity to travel for competition, meet like-minded individuals, and make friends that you'll have for, life, for a whole lifetime. So in this way, it's very similar to DECA in that there's a national level competition. Then if you do well in that competition, you can move on to the international stage. So there is some sort of novelty to, waking up in the morning, having it be competition day, going downtown to the Air Canada Centre or to the Metro Canada Centre and doing that competition, meeting other students, not just in your school, not just in your city, but from all around the world. So I think that getting into HOSA early for me was a great opportunity to not only find myself, but find people who were like me and to start building that healthcare network, which is very, very important if you choose to stay in this industry beyond high school and university and into your future career. Okay, so we're going to shift gears a little bit. Henry really did a wonderful job of introducing most of my stats, but I'll just reiterate for anybody who wasn't able to be here at the very beginning. So my name is Grace. I'm a 3rd-year student currently at the Health Sciences program at McMaster University, and my HOSA experience includes competition in grades 9 and 10, in which I placed 1st in Canada for sports medicine, 2nd in Canada for emergency medical technician, which is kind of like an emergency response event, and I qualified therefore for internationals in both years and attended the international conference in 2017 in Orlando, Florida. beyond HOSA, well, HOSA was initiating kind of my interest in health, but I think since then I've done a lot of work in fostering my interest in health, and I really branched out into other areas, including public health, leadership, and medicine. So I also did apply for medical school this cycle, got my first interview yesterday to make master medicine, and I really attest HOSA as one of the first opportunities that I had in high school that fostered and sparked my interest in health. So if I just show a bit of a collage of kind of my experiences since then, we have, can you guys see my cursor, like my mouse, or no? If I go like this.
Yep.
Yeah?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can see it.
Perfect. So as you can see in the top left corner, this was when I was taping my friend's hand to practice for HOSA because I was competing in sports medicine. And one of the event's requirements is to do practical skills. So taping, assessing range of motion. And then in grade 11 and 12, I went on to become the president. So I was coordinating various initiatives like creating sweaters for our school's chapter. I also went to Thailand in grade 10 to do a surgical kind of fellowship observational program, which is what this photo is down here. And then further into high school, I became interested in public health. So I worked at the Dalhousie School of Public Health at U of T downtown, and I participated in various competitions to create mock plans to address viruses. And I also worked downtown in Mount Sinai Hospital in the Surgical Skills Center. I learned how to suture, how to knot tie. I set up various procedures for mock simulations. This is one of my friends here who goes to Queen's University. And then moving on to post-secondary and undergraduate studies, I'm currently at McMaster's. This is a photo of me on my first day at Mac, me during Welcome Week. So I was the Welcome Week coordinator, and that kind of ties in my interest in leadership as well. So you can see my journey has been very expansive, broad, long, but I think that HOSA definitely has the ability to spark that interest in all young students. And I hope that you guys will take the plunge like me, because you never know, where your life will take you. And I think if I hadn't had tried HOSA in grade 9, then maybe I wouldn't be where I am today. So I think, every piece is valuable when it comes to your overall story. Okay.
Sorry, Grace. Can I
Okay.
jump in here really quickly? I just want to do a bit, a bit quick translation. So before you move on,我用中文稍微帮Grace 稍微翻译一下哈，然后我稍微这个加一点我自己的体会哈，就是很多人在问为什么我们要去做 HOSA， 包括像 DECA 像debate 这样的 program， 那基本上我觉得有两件事情。第一件事情呢，这两件事情刚刚Grace 都谈到。那第一件事情呢，就是它实际上是你的将来的 future profession 的一次演练啊，就是你在高中阶段，这个很像我经常举一个例子，就是我们去 Costco 买东西啊，你还有那个 sample food， 你要去拿一个吃一下啊，如果好吃你就买一大包回家啊，如果不好吃你就走开就是。那我们选择一个大学的一个专业，或者说将来的我们的一个从业方向的时候，那很像你在 Costco 买一个东西，你买一个大包回家，如果你不喜欢你就浪费掉，对不对？那我拿一个 sample food 吃一下，所以这个有一点点像那种这样的一个功能了，就是说我们在高中阶段，那像 HOSA 当然它的对应的就是将来的medical program 或者我们叫医学院啊。那像 DECA 将来对应的就是business program 或者我们叫商学院，或者 mock trial 它对应的是法学院所以这样的一种让你能够提前在高中能够体验和体会你未来的大学的专业和未来的你的专业的从业方向，我觉得是非常对我们的孩子来说，对我们的学生来说是非常有价值。那这是第一。第二，对你的将来的 college application 就是我们的所谓的叫本科申请，它的帮助，我们大家都知道，在本科申请当中，基本上我们在谈两件事情。第一件事情叫你的 academic performance 我们就是所谓的你学习成绩这个里面包括你的课内的 GPA， 包括你的标化考试，比如说 AP 考试这个 IB， 包括 SAT， 如果你申请美国学校的话那第二大部分呢，就是你的 personal 的这种qualities， 那这个里面就很大的一部分，实际上就是你的 extracurricular， 我们叫课外活动。 课外活动你可以把它理解成你在教室以外你的时间都花在什么地方啊？那当然像 HOSA 刚才我们说了，它是一个 medical 的一个 profession 的一个 program 啊，那也包括像 debate 像 DECA mock trial、model UN， 我们的数学竞赛、我们的物理竞赛、化学竞赛、计算机竞赛啊，所有这些，所以这些内容、这些 program、这些competition 是在为你的这种 extracurricular， 在你的大学申请的时候，为你的这一部分来加分，为你这一部分来提供价值啊。我还想多说一点，就是 application essay。今年我尤其感觉到，我们的很多学生在写这个 essay 过程当中有很多的这种 struggle。我昨天还看到一个学生来请我帮他做这个 essay 的一些这种辅导啊。他当然他是申请滑铁卢的一个 CS program。我能感觉到他的 essay 里面没有故事。那你从事像 HOSA 这样的活动啊，这样的竞赛，实际上它可以给你带来很多未来的故事的素材。你一定要走出去，你一定要去做这些事情，去接触很多人，去接触很多跟你一样有这种 drive、有这种热情、有这种驱动力、有这种目标的这些人。他们在跟他们接触过程当中，在竞赛当中，在你学习的过程当中，你会有很多的故事。那这些故事在你真正申请大学的时候你的 essay， 就我们的文书写作，包括你的 interview 的过程当中，都会帮你起到很多这个作用。不管你是申请美国还是加拿大啊，所以这是我的体会了哈。Grace 可能基本上能听懂我在说的这个刚才说的这几点。那其实刚刚他在用英文讲的时候也都讲到了这一点，只不过我现在想用中文帮他再概括一下哈，然后再稍微 highlight 一下，因为我觉得这些是非常非常重要的。OK， Grace back to you，Thank you。
Thank you，对，刚刚讲的特别好啊！虽然我普通话不是那么强，所以我自己表达不出来。不过谢谢你帮我翻译。我感觉就是故事很重要。虽然我们是学生，我们在课堂里就是学化学啊、生物啊这些方面的课程呢很重要呢。就是现在考大学还有考医学院越来越竞争，就是竞争更强了。很多学生都特别就是成绩特别高，4.0好多的。所以你怎么把自己突出呢 ？How do you make yourself stand out 呢？就是 you have to do these extracurricular activities and find these stories. And I think that HOSA could be a very good opportunity for you to start. 特别是因为在加拿大，就是这些跟医学关的机会比较少。其实跟 like compared to business or law, I think healthcare opportunities are more far and few in between because the healthcare industry is very highly regulated. 如果你不是医生，如果你不是护士的话，你不能随便跑到医院里去做义工，对不对？其实这些机会很少，所以 HOSA 是个很好的一个，从零开始一点。如果你有就是孩子的话，你可以鼓励他们去参加这个活动。Okay, I will continue. So that brings us to how it works. So now you know what HOSA is, what it can do for you, how exactly does HOSA work, what is the competitive process, and what events are available. So HOSA is very similar to DECA, if any of you guys have competed in DECA before, in that there are 2 components or 2 rounds. Number 1, there's an MC exam, which typically contains 50 multiple choice questions with 4 options each. And the top scoring competitors of round 1 will advance to round 2. So if you have a very high written score, you will be able to compete in the practical element. And the practical skill or round 2 is very different for every event. So I'll show you an example right now. But it typically will include mock clinical skills assessments and show how you can perform or act as a healthcare professional. So I'm just going to exit the presentation momentarily and show you an example of what HOSA questions are like and what practical skills are assessed. So can you still see my screen if I switch this to this tab? Can you still see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so this is one of the course outlines for a HOSA event or sports medicine. So I competed in this event in grade 9. And if we scroll down here, you'll see some sample test questions that they are offering. So the first question that we can go through together is, which professional can best advise an athlete on the psychological aspects of the rehabilitation process and how to cope with an injury? So the answer is already shown here, but as you can see in the exam portion of HOSA competition, all of the test questions are structured like this. So there will be a question, there will be 4 options, and then you will pick the best option the option that best fits the question. So in this case, it's a sports psychologist. And the topic of the exams will vary greatly. So it can either be about the healthcare providers, or it can be about the physiological aspects or nutrition of sports medicine, but the topics are very broad, which is why a lot of studying is required for HOSA. Another example of a question is, which vitamin is essential for the metabolism of carbohydrates and some amino acids, maintenance of normal appetite, and functioning of the nervous system? So there are 4 vitamins here, and you'll see that D, thiamine, is the most appropriate option. Now, don't be scared. I know this seems like questions that you never encountered before, but typically you aren't able to prepare for HOSA before you sign up. And it's only until you sign up, when you sign up, that you get the resources, the textbooks that will actually help you prepare, because we don't learn this stuff in high school, right? So don't worry, you don't have to know this before coming in, before being ready to compete. It's all about preparing well and studying well once you decide to compete. So that was round 1, the MC exam. Round 2, the practical skills, will involve something like this. So for sports medicine, it will involve something like risk taking. So you'll see that the student over here is practicing how to take the wrist of the patient. She's applying a under wrap to protect the skin, and then applying the flexible elastic tape around. So in HOSA competition, if you succeed in the written component and you answer most of the questions correct, you can then go on to the practical component, where you prepare and use materials and work with your hands and get that kind of in-person experience. Okay, so we will continue. So once you finish those 2 elements, your score will be tallied to total into your final composite score. And then the top 3 events, top 3 individuals or teams in each event will advance to internationals, where you compete with students all around the world. Okay, so for 2023, the HOSA events that the Canadian branch will offer are as follows. So you can see that there are 5 categories of events: health science, teamwork, health professions, emergency preparedness, and leadership. And there are different events under each of these categories. Now you might be thinking, Grace, there are so many events. There's so many. How do I pick the right one for me? And that's a great question. And it's something I struggled with when I was in high school as well. And I will say that in our course, HOSA Level 1, Level 2, I'm going to be sharing a lot of information, giving you a taste of each of these events to help better inform and guide you when you're actually ready to compete, when you're ready to go on and pick one. Because, as a grade 9 student, you probably don't know what pathophysiology is, right? So how do you decide whether or not it's right for you? We're going to help you with that if you sign up for our course. Okay, great segue. So hopefully you're a little bit interested in HOSA, a little bit interested in my story, and a little bit excited to get into the depth of it. So I'm going to be covering what I've created for the curriculum for HOSA Level 1, HOSA Level 2, and how you can register. So for HOSA Level 1, there's going to be 3 branches of development. Branch 1 is going to be competition, and I'll add that HOSA Level 1 is going to be best suited for students who are grades 8 and above. So that could be grade 8, grade 9, grade 10, who are just kind of entering high school, getting ready to compete in HOSA, and who have little to no HOSA experience. So if that's you, listen carefully, because this kind of level is probably going to be the one that you are best suited towards. And within the HOSA course, branch 1 will be competition. So students will be familiarized with the HOSA competition structure, what to expect. So there's not too many surprises. You can be ready, not anxious, prepared for the competition date. What categories of events are available, and specifically which events would be good for each student, how to prepare and succeed in the national level competition and also international level competition once we get there, and also get a bit of background information that will be necessary for you to choose the event content that best fits your interests and skills, because not everyone is going to love sports medicine. Maybe you love leadership, maybe you prefer teamwork, or you prefer HOSA Bowl, right? So we're going to give you some of that information that will help inform your decision. And I'm going to be delivering this curriculum through a variety of techniques, including lectures, interactive activities like Kahoot, introspection exercises so you can reflect on the kind of person that you are, and mock competition. So I promise it won't be boring. It's going to be lots of fun. It's not just going to be me talking at you, so get excited for that branch. And the second one is knowledge. So students will also be familiarized with some foundational content that will guide their understanding of health, the first of which being basic anatomy, medical terminology, and public health and social determinants of health. So I'm not exactly sure how to translate these. Maybe Henry can jump in for me afterwards, but I think these three branches of content are so valuable. I'm in third year now in university, and I'm still learning this stuff. So this stuff is not only applicable to HOSA, but will also be super, super important and relevant for your future post-secondary studies and career pursuits. So that's kind of why I've chosen to focus on those three areas. This branch will mainly be delivered through lectures, but I'll also be trying to engage the students through activities like Kahoot, bingo, quizzes, so that there is some back and forth and some mutual dialogue. Okay, and finally, branch number 3 is personal growth. So I am a big advocate for personal growth. I think, knowledge, you're not going to remember everything you ever learned, but you will likely always recall and hold the skills that you gain. So I think that this course is also very valuable because my goal is to help the students build lifelong skills that they can use in HOSA, in school, in university, in their careers, such as effective studying habits. How do you study quickly, effectively, and not be burnt out or too tired? How do you act professionally? How do you communicate? How do you collaborate and work with others? How do you be a health advocate? How do you kind of navigate all the information that is available about health? And how do you really find out which branch of health best interests you? And how can you advocate for patients and those whom you are caring for? And finally, reflection and motivation on goals. So I think health is so integral when it comes to reflection and motivation on goals because it's difficult. Like, I know a lot of Asian parents will want their kids to be doctors, but being a doctor is not easy. And I think the most important thing when children are at this young age in high school, middle school, whatever, is to encourage them in this direction, but may also help them, build genuine interest and genuine motivation so that they motivate themselves. They want to go to class. They want to learn. They are interested in health. And it's not just the parents pushing. So I think this piece, reflection on motivation and goals, is super critical. And some techniques that we may employ to kind of foster and build these skills will include group work, journaling, games. So a lot of fun stuff ahead that will help build these skills in an organic and lasting way. Okay, moving on to HOSA level 2. So this basically is going to be similar to HOSA level 1. It's going to build on those 3 branches that I talked about. But in addition, it's also going to include personalized support, individualized studying schedules and notes, and also consultation and competition strategies. So this is also going to be best for students who are grades 8 and above, maybe grade 10, 11, 12, or 9 if you have already had experience with HOSA and you want me to work with you one-on-one. Like, hey, Joe, or just a random name, you want to compete in dental science? Okay, let's do it. Let's make a studying schedule. Let's talk about the content together. So this is more of a tailored one-on-one individualized experience. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the presentation. Thank you so much for listening. Are there any questions that you guys might have? Feel free to use the chat function or to raise your hand on Zoom. And I'll try my best to say it in Chinese if you guys prefer me to do that.
问你问题吗？
可以，对。
请问申请 McMaster 大学是不是必须要到医院去做 volunteer？
OK，不需要。所以我当时申请麦马 HS 的时候呢，我虽然没有做医院里的义工，我做可是课外活动啊，我就在那里工作了。你 不用非得去做，因为他们的申请过程呢，他们有一些文章，对不对？文章里他们没有问你要就是写多少小时去做义工，所以这不是非得需要做的。然后我有很多同学现在在我的班里边呢，他们也没有在医院里工作过，很多人都不想当医生，所以就是这不是一个非得需要做的。可是呢，如果你感觉你的孩子会在医院里学到东西呢，他会可以就是 more exposure, they'll gain more understanding of what health and what medicine is like, then I do encourage them to do so. But HOSA is also a great opportunity.
非常好，谢谢你。
不用谢。Okay, so I have a question in the chat. That says, for students who are already signed up, what would be something appealing about the lessons, and would they be preparing specifically for their own category? This is a great question. I'm just going to send it to the public chat so everybody can see it. Okay, so yeah, for sure. So I think for a student who already has signed up for HOSA and is in the process of preparing, I think HOSA level 2 would be best suited towards that individual. I think the lessons, again, my goal with this course is to help students succeed in HOSA, yes. But because I have competed in HOSA in the past, I was the president of my school's chapter. I guided so many students in their preparation. And I'm currently in university, and I'm seeing how my experience in HOSA helped make me who I am today. My goal is to also do more than that, right? It's to build the personal skills, to inspire, kind of be like a big sister to the people in the class, and kind of guide them as they explore their interests in health. Specifically with respect to HOSA, I think I will also be working very closely with those students. So if your child is signed up for dental science or sports medicine, I will go into the textbook. I will look at the information. I will chunk it. I will work with them. I will, really discuss any concepts that they're concerned about. Not all high schools have very extensive HOSA support. Some big high schools might, like Mark Garneau, UTS, Richmond Hill, Markville, those high schools might have a better HOSA chapter, but not all high schools have that. So I think I will be able to give insight because I will be the person who's using my previous HOSA experience, and I'm really invested in my students. I was a tutor in other courses before, so I will be with them from day one to all the way till the end. Okay, hopefully that answers your question. Feel free to message me to follow up. If not, so the next question is, does every HOSA event include practical skills and competition, or are there events with only objective tests? Great question. So from my understanding, there are a lot of events, so this might not be 100% accurate. There are events which only have exams. So medical math, for example, medical terminology, those events only have objective tests. And then the practical skills are more geared towards the health professions events. So things like sports medicine, veterinary science, dental science. So that's kind of preparing you to become a vet, like 护医 or 护士 or 牙医 or 医生, right? So those are events that are preparing you for those careers. But there's something for everyone. There's even events that don't have tests at all. Like there's events like HOSA Bowl, which is trivia, HOSA trivia. And there's events like research persuasive speaking, where it's more similar to public speaking, and you write about a healthcare topic, an issue, and you present a speech on it. So all the events are different. Okay, and then the next question is, hello, did you have any previous training before entering HOSA? So again, like I mentioned in my presentation, I did not. I started HOSA in grade 9. I took, science classes in school, obviously, in middle school in grade 8, but I did not know what sports medicine was. I didn't even know what the scientific name of the elbow was. So I started from zero. And studying, the process was very difficult. It was very exhausting by myself, which is why I really think that, the guidance that we can offer you through this course will be helpful, especially if the student is young, because it's hard to go into HOSA and know exactly what to do. There's so much information. So that's where I kind of can come in and help you chunk it down, break it down into manageable and understandable chapters and pieces. Okay, and then the next question was, sorry, I can't read this. Henry, if you could translate.
Yeah, so from Michael, right?
Yes.
So the question is, what is the difference between branch and event?
Okay, for sure. So events are the actual events that you compete in for HOSA. Right, so there's 35 or so HOSA events: sports medicine, dental science, persuasive speaking, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's HOSA Canada's organization. The branches are for our LinkedKey course. So for HOSA level 1 and HOSA level 2, the branches are something that I've theorized, that I've created in the curriculum, that are specific areas that we want to focus on. So branch number 1, competition. How do we help students succeed and compete and win, right? Number 2, is personal growth. So how do we help students gain those skills? And number 3 is knowledge. How do we help students learn and actually retain the things they're learning in HOSA beyond high school, beyond competition? So there's many different aspects. That's kind of how I thought of it. So it's how I will be delivering the curriculum. Okay, and the next question is from Ethan. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for coming. How long does the HOSA level 1 and level 2 courses take? After taking the courses, the students will be ready to go to competition. How about clinical experience? Do courses offer training on this as well? Okay, so the HOSA level 1 and level 2 courses will take the entirety of second semester. So starting on February 5th, it's going to be every week in the morning on Sundays. So you can find that information on LinkedKey's website, and it's going to go, I think, until like April, if I'm correct, Henry. After taking the course, yeah. So
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So February to April. And then after taking the courses, the students will be ready to go to competition. Yes, so that is the goal. If it's HOSA level 1 and your student is in grade 8 or grade 9 and didn't sign up for HOSA in their school this year, if they take this course, they will know so much information about HOSA. They will be more prepared than any other student I have ever known compete in HOSA. Because most people just go to their high school, find their chapter, sign up, and compete, right? This, to my knowledge, is one of the first HOSA courses ever being offered, not only at LinkedKey School, but also at other schools across the GTA. So I think this is a very novel and new opportunity. And how about clinical experience? The courses offer training on this as well. So we're not affiliated with any hospital, and there will not be like on-site clinical experience. But depending on the event, if your child is picking sports medicine, for example, there are clinical components like suturing and wrapping, taping, assessment of health, etc. I am not familiar with all of the skills, but I do know a lot of them, not only through HOSA, but from my high school university experience. So I can definitely offer guidance when it comes to those components. I am quite a good suturer. My sutures are very clean. My knot tying is very clean. So when I was working at Mount Sinai Hospital in the Surgical Skills Center, which is an area for all the medical students at U of T, University of Toronto, and all the residents and surgeons in the downtown Toronto core hospitals, for them to work and practice their skills, I was facilitating a workshop with some third-year medical students when I was in grade 11 in high school. And they were so surprised. They were like, Grace, how are you so good at suturing? And it's because I practiced on my own time. It's because I did HOSA. It's because I worked at Mount Sinai. So I know my way around a suture and a needle driver and some and a knife. So I have some experience. And if we're able to source the materials, so if the students are interested and want to buy materials online, I'm more than happy to integrate that into the course as well and give them that practical experience. Great feedback. Maybe we'll make one of the weeks like how to suture, right? Maybe we'll make that one of the workshops for the course. Okay, and for a question from Viv, what is the frequency of grade level 1 course? So I think, are you asking like how often will the level 1 course happen? I assume that that's what it is. So it's going to be every week on Sundays in the morning from 9:30 to 11:30, I believe, for level 1. Yes. Okay, and then the question from Michael, may I have a no worries, yeah, feel free to ask anything. Why do your classmates not want to be a physician, as you just mentioned? Okay, this is a big question, a loaded question. I think there are a lot of reasons, right? So when it comes to picking a career, it's a very big decision. And not everybody is interested in medicine because medicine is very personal. It's very, not everyone wants to interact with patients on a daily basis. And some people are scared of blood. Some people are scared of, health. They may be interested in health from a more theoretical perspective, like for research or for public health, but they may not be actually interested in the clinical aspect of health, which is something that they do discover in university or through HOSA, right? That's why I think it's very important to expose yourself to the health industry early on, as to not make the mistake of just applying because you like the idea of being a doctor. And it's very difficult to know what being a physician is actually like until you have these experiences in HOSA, in high school, and volunteering at a hospital. So I think it's up to the student themselves to do their own education justice and to do the research, do the preparation, and to learn more about themselves. Not everyone wants to be a doctor also because it's hard. Like being a physician is extremely exhausting. Coming from a Mac Health side perspective, a lot of our graduates go on to medical school, 50-60% of our total graduating class. So I know a lot of students who are currently in medical school, currently in residency. One of my friends is currently in emergency medicine residency at McMaster in Hamilton, and he has 24-hour shifts. And 26-hour shifts actually, so full day commitments. And it's tiring, it's exhausting, it's not for everybody, right? Some people want a 9-to-5, more stable kind of work-life balance. So again, medicine is great for many reasons, but it's not for everybody. Okay, so Stephen asked in the chat, I will just share this with everybody. They ask, for competition purposes, which course, level 1 or level 2, should I choose? Okay, great question. So I assume that you already have experience with HOSA then, or you've already signed up. So if you are already registered in HOSA, I would suggest you pick level 2, because that way I can give you more personalized one-on-one feedback and work with you to make a schedule, to talk about concepts, to work through things. Whereas level 1 is more for students who are preparing to compete, not yet already competing, who want to be like inspired or want to enrich themselves with more healthcare experience and exposure. Okay. Hi, the next question is from Emily. So they ask, hi, Grace, are you going to be a teacher here on a long-term basis? Do you have a commitment to this teaching position? So great question. Yes, I am committed to teaching this course for this semester. And if Henry wants me to come back next year, that's something we'll discuss. I'm very happy with my experience so far. LinkedKey is a great school. It's a great community. Henry is super friendly. All of your parents and your families are wonderful. So I really feel connected to the school already, even though I just started. This is my first course here. But if the experience is positive, then I'll be coming back next year as well. But definitely I will be fulfilling the commitment that I've made for this coming semester.
Yeah, for sure. We want Grace to come back next year or maybe the years beyond.
Okay, I'll try my best. Wonderful, wonderful.
I was wondering, sorry, do you have any advice for initiating a HOSA branch at high school? Because my high school currently does not have a branch.
Okay, great question. So I came from a school called Mark Garneau, and when I was in grade 9, we already had a HOSA chapter. So I don't have personal experience myself setting up a chapter, but I do know some things about it. So if you go to the HOSA Canada website, I will link that to you right now in the chat. So if you go here, HOSA Canada website, you'll be able to find more information about how to set up a chapter at your high school. There's like someone you should email. There's some procedures you have to do from the HOSA Canada perspective, but also you have to consider like your school itself, right? So what are the procedures for starting a club at your high school? Do you have to contact the principal? Do you need a teacher supervisor? Do you have a room that you've booked to meet weekly? Do you have executives that you want to hire onto your team to help you manage the chapter? These are all some things you want to think about. So there's kind of two facets. There's at your high school and also HOSA. I'm not sure if you can still register a HOSA chapter at your school for this year because the deadline may have passed, but you can definitely double check that yourself on the website. But next year, so many opportunities, right? So definitely start early and get ahead on that. But I admire your leadership and your initiative to start that. Awesome. Okay, so Carol has a question. In my school, we found a student as a facilitator, but later on, you might have to complete registration as a school, and you're pretty sure deadlines ended around November. Yeah, so that's also kind of what I recalled. I think the deadline for registering a chapter was in November. And again, finding a teacher to be your facilitator, your supervisor, and registering through your school. Perfect. Thank you, Carol, for sharing your experience. Okay, and then we have a question from Ethan who says, "Hi Grace, besides HOSA, what ECs did you compete in when you were in high school?" Okay, good question. So in high school, it's a long time ago. So I'm going to try to remember everything. So I did HOSA for all 4 years. I did DECA as well for all 4 years, which I was also relatively successful at. And I did co-op in grade 11 at Mount Sinai Hospital, which I was able to get a job at later on, which I think was a great opportunity. Those were kind of the main things I did. I also did something called the Dalana School of Public Health Outreach and Access Program. It was a specific program at my high school, which taught me a lot about public health, a lot about social determinants, which gave me like a broader understanding of health beyond the clinical aspect, which was also very fun. I didn't like do sports or anything because I'm not athletic at all, but that was kind of the main 4 that I participated in. And I also got another message privately, which asked what volunteer opportunities I participated in high school. So again, that's kind of everything. I may be forgetting a couple of things, but that was like the main 4 that I did. I did some small things here and there as well. Okay, and then I got another question about HOSA versus DECA. Okay, so did I find HOSA to be harder to study for or DECA harder to study for in terms of regionals to provincials? Okay, good question. So in terms of pure studying, I would say HOSA was harder to prepare for because there's actually so much information. So when I was in grade 9 competing in sports medicine, I think the textbook was like 1,200 pages, maybe like 1,600 pages. And I am a procrastinator, so I studied all of it in like the matter of a week or so. So the pure like preparation for HOSA was more difficult, but I will say that DECA is more competitive because DECA has been around in Canada for longer. So in grade 9, I didn't make provincials, but in grade 10, I made provincials and also made ICDC. And I think what was different for DECA for me was that in DECA, there's a lot of transferable skills that you can employ. So things like your role play skills, right? No matter what event you pick, tourism, marketing, business administration, etc., your role plays will all kind of be the same. You have an introduction, you have your pitch, you have your acronyms, you have your conclusion. They're all going to be similar. But in HOSA, every event is different and there is so much information. So it's definitely hard to tackle when it comes to that perspective. But again, I've been out of high school for a few years. I'm currently in my 3rd year, and I didn't compete in HOSA in grade 11 or 12. So I definitely think that HOSA has gotten more competitive in the past few years compared to when I was competing in grade 9 and 10, just because healthcare is an industry that a lot of students are interested in, and HOSA is a big extracurricular that is very popular amongst students in Canada. So I definitely think that HOSA has gotten more competitive. Does branch 1 also get to compete? Or is it just branch 2? Okay, so good question. Do you mean level 1 and level 2, Anne? I think that's what you are referring to. In terms of how the courses are structured for the LinkedKey, for the LinkedKey courses, level 1 is more geared towards students who haven't signed up for HOSA yet and are preparing to sign up or want to sign up next year, right? So it's giving you information about HOSA, it's giving you background knowledge on anatomy, medical terminology, etc., public health, that will be helpful when you actually compete. Level 2 is for if you are competing right now or you already have competed before and you want that personalized studying schedule with me. So We don't facilitate the actual registration for competition at LinkedKey this year because we haven't, we registered our chapter, but it's going to be coming next year. But this year, you have to have signed up for HOSA at your high school. If you want to enroll in level 2, I recommend that you do that. But there's no like rules around whether or not you can compete for HOSA, depending on what course you signed up for LinkedKey. It's more about what information and what assistance, what support I'm offering you, depending on the course. Does that make sense? And okay, I got another question. No worries. I got another question about lowest GPA or IB score to get into life science from McMaster. I am not sure about IB because I didn't do the IB program, but I think from what I know, in the past few years, the cutoff for McMaster Life Science, like the real cutoff in terms of who's actually given an offer, is like high 80s, low 90s. And I think it's gotten more competitive in previous years because of grade inflation during COVID. So I would project that it's going to get higher in future years. So I would recommend that you aim to have as high of an average as possible, but low 90s, like mid 90s would be very safe. And that was for life science, not health science, right? Because you said life science, Stephen. So let me know if you also want me to speak to health sciences. And then Tan asks, hi Grace, I'm wondering if you could share what resources you use while studying. Do you mean for HOSA or for like other stuff? For HOSA, I'm assuming. Yes, HOSA. Okay. Yeah, so it's been a long time, so I don't exactly remember, but all the information is going to be provided by HOSA. So let me just share my screen again. If you see in this course outline, right, for sports medicine for 2022, what you have to know are here, these textbooks. And these are the skills you have to learn. So for example, anatomical landmark identification, or range of motion tests, or taping. So everything you have to know to compete in HOSA is going to be provided to you. So you don't have to find resources yourself, because HOSA Canada will add you to Google Classroom once you sign up for HOSA, and they will give you the textbooks that you need, or maybe they give you a link and you have to buy it yourself, but they will provide you with all the information you have to study to best prepare for the competition. And the resources do vary slightly year to year, but I think more or less they're the same textbooks year after year. And Emily says, very excited that LinkedKey now has a HOSA class. Oh, thank you so much, Emily. I really appreciate it. That is so sweet and so kind. I'm going to do my best. I definitely want to reiterate my thanks to all the parents here. Like, I know it's a big step to entrust your child to me, and I'm so passionate about health science, about the journey towards medicine or other careers, because I myself had a very difficult time going through high school, going through university by myself. Like I'm the oldest daughter of my household. So I didn't have anybody to guide me. I kind of had to figure it all out myself, and it was very hard. So I want to really share what I've learned with all the students at LinkedKey. So thank you so much for considering signing up for the course. Thank you so much for trusting me, and I'm going to do my best to help inspire and help teach your child. Yeah. What is yes, Jacqueline.
Oh, thank you. I was just wondering if it's still possible to compete in the HOSA competition if you're not registered at high school, maybe finding another chapter in Toronto. Would that be possible?
Good question. I'm not 100%. Let me just double check the website right now, actually. So if we go to the website, maybe I'll share my screen so you guys can see. But if we go to the website and we find registration, I'm going to look for a deadline. So I think you may be able to register, honestly, because I recall my friends registering pretty late, but it's as long as you pay before the date, but I can't find the date. As long as you pay before a certain date, you're able to compete in SLC, which is the national competition. But I think it may be a little bit difficult, Jacqueline, to find a chapter if you don't go to their high school, because a lot of high school chapters have regulations around who can and can't register. But definitely do more research on it. I'm sorry I can't offer a more concrete response. Maybe look into like whether like other independent organizations have their own HOSA chapter, not like affiliated with a high school. Yeah, maybe look into that, but I'm so sorry, I'm not exactly sure. I'll try to find it and like message me, or sorry, message you. So maybe you can like link me your email and I'll try to do some research and let you know, but that's kind of the best that I can offer right now. Okay, Becky asks, what is the, no worries, Jacqueline, what is the admissions rate to get into medical school in your university? Okay, so it like overall the admissions rate for McMaster University Medical School is, I think, 5%, 6%, 7%. It's probably lower this year, at least, because I'm also applying this cycle. In the email that I got for my interview invite, I think the total application number was 5,600 students who had applied to McMaster Med, and then 560 are offered an interview. And then from the 560, 205 are offered admission into the program. So that's about a 5%, a little bit less, like 4%, almost 3% acceptance rate. So it's very, very competitive. Yeah, and it's different for every school. I know U of T is a bit higher, Queen's is a lot lower, Ottawa is kind of in the middle, and there's also schools outside Ontario, obviously. Okay, and then Stephen is asking, I mentioned that the lowest GPA is 80 or a safe GPA is 90 to get an offer from McMaster. 80 or 90 is Ontario, 80 or 90, correct? Yes, so on the scale from like 1 to 100, high 80%, like 88, 89%, and a low 90, 90, 91, 92%. In Ontario, like Ontario high school collegiate level would be kind of a safe range to get admission to McMaster Life Science. Okay, and then Becky asks another very poignant question. Which major is easier to get into, medical school, life science, or health sciences? So this really depends, depending on the school, depending on yourself as an individual, your profile, and depending on, I guess, like your effort, right? So McMaster Health Sciences is very competitive to get admission into because there are so many applicants. But I wouldn't say that it's hard in terms of having to do a lot. You just have to have your 90% to 100% average, and then you send in your 3 essays. Whereas the application process for medical school is a lot more labor intensive. You have to do your GPA, write your MCAT, write CASPER, which is another exam for situational ethics and other assessments. And you have to like write your ABS, which is your autobiographical sketch or your resume, and then write essays, do interviews. So the process is very expansive, right? Life science, I would personally say that it's overall easier to get into because to my knowledge, all life sciences programs in Canada only require your GPA or your grades in high school. So when I was in grade 12, I applied to U of T Life Science, Queen's Life Science, no, U of T Life Science, only U of T Life Science. But I know that McMaster Life Science, Queen's Life Science, Western Medical Science, they only look at your grades. So if you have a 95% average, you will get into all of those schools. Whereas for health science, you can have a 100% average and not get into health science because they also really value your supplementary application or your essays that add more insight into the kind of person you are and your overall profile. Okay, Anne asked, how do you contact me if I have further questions? I think for now, the best way to reach out would be to use the official LinkedIn communication forum. So through LinkedIn email or through their phone number. If you are able to sign up for my course, definitely we'll have more one-on-one contact. And thereafter, I'll give you my email, my phone number. You can find me on Facebook, whatever, and we can have more communication there. Okay.
Yeah, I think we'll take one more question from Steve, and then we'll wrap up this seminar for tonight.
Sounds good. Thanks, Henry. So the last question is, to get into McMaster Life Science or Health Sciences, what courses are essential? I think it varies. So I know that for health sciences, it's biology, chemistry, English, one non-science course. one elective, and then one more course. So those are the only required courses: biology, chemistry, English, math, and the other 2 are whatever you want. I'm not sure about life sciences, sorry, but it's very similar. You can find all the information on the website, like go to McMaster Admissions and you can find the prerequisite courses. And they're all 12U courses, university level and not M courses. For sure, no worries, Stephen. Okay, yeah, that wraps up our presentation for today. Thank you so much, everybody. Please sign up for the HOSA courses. The spots are limited. There's only 12 spots for each level, so definitely get your registration in there as soon as you can. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your evening to listen to me blabber and listen to me speak, listen to me share my story. It was great meeting you guys, and yeah, I wish you all the best. Happy New Year. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Grace. Thank you so much for
so much.
all the wonderful information. I personally have learned a lot, and I can feel the enthusiasm from our parents and students about the HOSA program. Hopefully you'll see everyone in the class. If you guys have any further questions, just feel free to reach out, right? I type our email address and phone number in the chat box. Yeah, feel free to reach out at any time. We'll be more than happy to discuss anything with you. Yeah, 谢谢大家。我知道大家有特别多的热情哈，关于这个 HOSA， 关于我们的 medical program 所以大家有任何问题可以随时在 email 我们，电话我们，随时联系我们，我们可以继续来讨论哈，也非常欢迎大家能够加入我们的 HOSA 课程哈。Grace 是一个非常有经验、有热情，然后能够给我们的学生带来很多帮助的老师哈。Once again, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Grace, and enjoy the rest of your excuse me, enjoy the rest of the time tonight. Thank you so much, everyone. Good night.
Bye bye. 新年快乐, everybody.
Yeah, 新年快乐.
Excellent.
自己跑去走路了，妈妈。